Hello and welcome to another podcast called Apple with the Doc. Today we'll be talking about a few things. Thank you for clicking on that clickbait title. Today we'll be talking about how spanking isn't really that good and how doctors are helping patients in bed vote. So if you're new to this podcast, I go over the health news, provide a little bit of insight and nuance into what's actually going on. And we basically just talk about health related topics. If you have a certain topic that you want me to discuss, you can always reach me at Twitter at djacknoff. That's DJACKKNAUF. You can always reach me there. But let's jump into it. So the first bit of thing that we'll be talking about is it's about spanking children. Another article has came out stating that spanking children is not exactly a good thing. It depends on what you believe, and it depends on how you think you're actually treating your child. I won't be telling you how to manipulate your child or punish your child. I will say what these quote unquote professional guilds will say. So you have the American Academy of Pediatrician, who increased their advice against spanking in their guidelines, the most recent guidelines, and they state that kids become more aggressive and they have a higher risk of mental health issues, and also the American Associate of Psychiatrists, I believe it is, the APA, American Psychological Association, says positive reinforcement is much better than spanking. These are the same people who make the DSM-5, and DSM-5, which is a manual that many people learn about, many people use. If you're a social worker, you do learn about this. If you are a student, you learn about the DSM-5. If you're a primary care doctor, you learn about DSM-5. If you're a psychiatrist, you also learn about a psychiatrist or psychologist, you learn about DSM-5. And all the DSM-5 is a diagnostic manual for psychiatric issues, because psychiatric issues they can vary from multiple conditions. I mean, it's inadequate today to say that someone is crazy and give them medicine. You actually have to know what type of crazy they are, so that you can give them medicine. But anyways, this article goes into how spanking your children is not good, and saying that discipline children just temporarily remove them from their favorite activities, and that would be better. So like grounding your children is better. Now, I for one have never been spanked unless my parents were angry, which leads me to believe that spanking is not exactly for the child. Spanking is more for the adult. It's more of a method for the adult to put out their anger against the child. Let's say if you want to take a belt, the child can easily just disassociate themselves from that situation and then go back to doing what they wanted to do in the first place. I think it's more meaningful. Actually, I should be very careful how I say this. Another part about spanking, I think spanking is more for the parents. If you get really angry, let's say your kid lied to you, and you don't want them to lie again, you feel hurt by them lying to you. So you want to take your anger out on the child. However, I think that something like removing them from playing activities, grounding them, doing timeouts, that's more of a mental punishment, I would say. And I'm not advocating for psychological trauma to children. What I'm more saying is you can have like grounding a child is more effective because it's a more psychological, and you go back into actually hurting the child a little bit more than spanking them would. So that's basically the gist of what I believe is actually happening. If you were ever paying attention to the news, you would see that a school in Georgia has reinstated corporal punishment in order to help discipline children. It's, I mean, maybe it's a little bit too far back, having someone else discipline your child, but I mean, I can understand if the parents believe that this is something that is beneficial or would help their children to actually behave in school. Now, this was only for parents who agreed to actually have their children punished this way in school. This is, I mean, it won't apply to all schools, and it was only one school that they were thinking about bringing this back in, or they actually brought this back in. So who knows? Maybe we'll have like statistics or something I'll follow up. So I will follow up on this one. So if you have a child and you want to punish them, I think the best way is to actually ground them. I mean, you take this person out of doing something that they love, and then you use that, you wage that against them, so that they actually begin to behave better. And when you learn that you would like to do something, you want to do it over and over and over because you want to feel that joy. As a parent, if you take that away from that child, then the person will be like, oh, I need to behave so I can do this again. So I can do that fun thing again. I can go outside and play tag with my children. Play tag with other children. So it becomes something that's more of a, I would say, negative reinforcement, not in the sense of bad, but you take something away. So in psychology, you have like positive, negative reinforcement. And negative, you take something away. Positive, you give something. So let's say your child makes all A's, or they did something really good. You give them like a toy, or you give them an incentive to later on to do much better. This is my opinion on how to raise children. You can think for yourself on how you want to do that. That's just an advice. Now the next one is going to be something a little bit political, and that's how physicians are actually helping patients who are stuck in the hospital bed, and whether or not they can vote or not. And so here in the United States, because I think I do have a few listeners who might have came across my podcast from other countries, but here in the United States, there is one day where everyone goes out to the polls, goes out to like their designated areas, if they register to vote, that is, to actually place a vote for whatever political party they want to vote for, or whatever candidate they want to vote for. Now, in America, we have something that's called early voting, where you can actually go or submit a form where you vote for the candidate that you want to vote for. Now, sometimes this is not always like the best thing. However, it is an option. So let's say you are a doctor, or you are some business CEO, or you're like an accountant in your own firm, or you're in a large firm. You can't really make it out because you have work to do. You have bills to pay. You have like obligations to do. You can't go out on November. What is it, like the first Tuesday in November, where you can't go and actually place a ballot. Leave your job site to place a ballot. Some people may say that, oh, there should be a holiday. No, election day should be a holiday so that people are more wanting to go out and actually place a ballot. Or others will argue, oh, that this isn't a good idea. People will still not vote. Who wants to spend their day off at a voting booth? a way you can fix that is early voting, where you submit a form. I did this. I would say that, I voted for the candidate, and I was pleased with the candidate that I voted for in 2016. But if you weren't pleased with it and you didn't vote, then that's on you. But in the United States of America, we do have early voting. Now, if you have Hillary Clinton who comes in, and if you want to vote for her, and let's say you didn't like the fact that FBI reopened the investigation into her email scandal, if you didn't like that, you wanted to change your vote for, I don't know, let's say Bernie, and you wanted to vote for Bernie, then it would be very difficult to change your vote then. That's why the very last second everything stops, and then people vote on that first Tuesday in November. And so this was thought about by some physician who is at the University of Pennsylvania, who decided to help patients vote. So if you're stuck in a hospital bed, you can't vote for everything, right? Or you can't plan for everything. You're not going to plan, okay, so the Tuesday or the week after election day, I am going to have a heart attack. It doesn't really work that way. Or the week after the election day, I'm going to contract pneumonia and have to go on a ventilator. It doesn't work that way. No, there is something called patientvoting.com, where a website you can go to in order to place a ballot. What you have to do is gather your information, or the patient's information, and you enter it through the website. And so using each state's board of election website, you can gather the information for that patient that they would need to apply for the website. So or apply for the ballot. So this is the people who are running, the positions that are up for election, that sort of thing. And then the patient can go to patientvoting.com and click on the state that they are registered to vote at, and they'll bring them to a step-by-step instructions on how to obtain a ballot. And from the application, when the application is due, the information from the State Board of Elections website, that sort of stuff, when you have to turn it in. The article also goes into how they recruited volunteers from Brown Alpert Medical School. It's basically they created a means for patients to actually vote at. They're not registering to vote, so it's just a way for people to actually get out and vote. Registering to vote, that's another entirely different scandal. So in the United States, there was a issue where they had people. How do I make this so it's not exactly fake news? They had people who were affiliated with the Democratic Party would send out these voter registration cards with the person's name, or I think it was the person's name, and also the person's the check mark that says I am a U.S. citizen, and they checked that was a pre-checked for them, and they would send this to people who were immigrants, and so in a way this would sign people up who weren't exactly eligible on a legal status to actually vote. In the United States of America, if you have a green card, you cannot vote. Again, you cannot vote with a green card, and this is because you're not exactly a citizen. You haven't taken the oath for citizenship. You have not declined citizenship in your foreign country or your country of homeland. Let's say if you came from Let's say if you came from Pakistan and you want to become a U.S. citizen, you could not become a U.S. citizen, I believe, while holding a Pakistan citizenship. It depends on who wants to hold that dual citizenship. It goes into the legality there. It's if you have a dual citizenship, it's the country that allows you to have that dual citizenship. So the United States of America does not allow you to have dual citizenship. The country of Pakistan would have to say that, okay, you can be a citizen of U.S. and you can be a citizen of Pakistan, but that won't be stated by the U.S. if you have a visa, you obviously can't vote because you're either here on a work visa or a tourist visa or some other sort of visa, a student visa, that sort of thing. So you can't exactly vote. And so you have this group of people going around just handing out pamphlets to either illegal immigrants or to green card holders. And this was brought up, and this was actually like shown to me that these people are trying to sign people up on who were not eligible to vote and thought it was like either a mistake or they were unintentionally doing it. Now, I will say the Democratic Party in the United States, they are something that's viewed as more favorable among immigrants. So they believe that the Democrat Party believes that if you have more immigrants to vote for you, that's more people to vote for you. They won't exactly vote, or you have more immigrants eligible to vote, you'll have more votes for Democrats instead of for Republicans. So unfortunately, U.S. is a two-party system right now. It's not legally a two-party system, but it is by the numbers and the way people think about it in the United States of America. We have other parties who also do run for president. I think it was like the Green Party or something like that. What was it? The Green something party in the 2008 election. It was the 2008 election where Barack Obama was running. There was actually a black female running for president, at least from Georgia. She wasn't from Georgia. Her party was listed on the ballot in the state of Georgia at the time, I believe. But yeah, so there's multiple parties out there, but they just don't have enough to actually sign up for the political debates that you see on television. That's like they have to have like certain criteria met in order to do that. And that was placed in law a long time ago. So I mean, there's a lot of things that have to change for American electoral system. It's not exactly the electoral college that needs to change. That's a whole matter of discussion on another time. But I mean, that's all I really have to say is that if you're stuck in a hospital in the U.S. and you're registered to vote, you can still vote. There's still hope for you yet. But I do just suggest you can do early voting, but there's caveats to when you want to early vote. If you're a party side player, let's say if you play for a particular side, then early voting's for you. I, for one, don't play political party sides. I don't like to play that because I did used to play that, and then you get burned, and then you're like, oh no, how do I retract this? But anyways, this has been Apple with the Doc. Thank you for listening. Again, you can reach me on Twitter at djacknoff. That's my pseudonym. Thank you for listening. See you on the next one.